I came home early that Thursday. No real reason. Just one of those moments where the hum of fluorescent lights and the endless clicking of keyboards at the office got to me. I needed silence. I needed home. The house was quiet when I pulled into the driveway. The usual rhythm of our home, footsteps, dishes clinking, Caroline humming something from the 90s, was absent. Her car was in the garage, though. Maybe she was upstairs napping or working from the sunroom, where she liked to stretch out with her laptop and cup of herbal tea. As I stepped inside, I noticed it immediately. A vase. Red roses. On the hallway table where we usually dropped our keys and bags. The petals were full and freshly cut, glistening faintly as if dew had only just dried from them. 12 of them. Classic, perfect. There was a note attached. To my love. That's all it said. Just 3 words written in blocky, masculine handwriting. Sharp angles, like the writer didn't care for softness. I stood still for a long while. My coat still slung over my arm, shoes half off, just staring at that note. There was no signature, no initials. No clue who my love was meant to be. My first instinct was to smile. Maybe Caroline had arranged for the flowers to surprise me. Maybe my love was me. But the more I stared at that handwriting, the more doubt crept in. Caroline never called me my love. Not in notes. Not out loud. It was always babe or hon, something casual, breezy. That phrasing felt foreign. I turned toward the staircase, calling out lightly, Caroline? No answer. I moved through the house, each step somehow heavier than the last. The air smelled faintly of lavender and something else, floral but unfamiliar. The scent of the roses, I supposed. I found her in the sunroom, curled up in the corner of the couch with a blanket over her legs, scrolling through her tablet. She looked up and smiled. You're home early. I am, I replied. My voice was even. Too even. Everything okay? She asked. I nodded. Just needed to get away for a bit. There was a pause, and then I asked the question as casually as I could. Hey, I saw the roses in the hallway. Who sent them? Caroline blinked. Then, almost too quickly, she said, Oh, those? From Jessica. A little inside joke at work. She sends random stuff when she beats me to a client. Jessica sent you a dozen roses? I tried to sound amused, not accusatory. Yeah, she's dramatic like that. You should have seen what she sent Shannon last month. A singing telegram. In a pirate costume. I nodded slowly, pretending to accept the answer. Caroline smiled again and looked back at her tablet, tapping away as if the subject was closed. But my mind wasn't. Not even close. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the roses. That note. To my love. 3 simple words. Yet they felt like a riddle that had just started unraveling. Caroline had always been good at lying, in small, harmless ways. Telling white lies to get out of social events. Bending truths to avoid awkward conversations. But this felt different. This was too smooth. Too ready. I lay beside her in bed, watching her chest rise and fall with each breath, listening to the soft clicks as she scrolled through her phone under the covers. She turned it off after a few minutes and nestled into her pillow. I turned the other way. Around 2 a.m. I got up, careful not to wake her. I padded down the hallway into the dark living room. The roses were still there, glowing faintly in the moonlight filtering through the blinds. I picked up the note again. To my love. That handwriting. Sharp. Slanted slightly forward. Impatient. Not Jessica's. I'd seen her handwriting once on a birthday card. Loopy, bubbly letters with hearts over the eyes. I stood in silence for a long time, staring at the card, until something shifted in me. I needed to know the truth. Not in theory. In certainty. The next morning, after Caroline left for work and I dropped the kids at school, I returned home and began my search. I started in the kitchen, checking drawers for any unfamiliar receipts. Nothing. Then the office. Caroline's desk had always been a controlled mess, but I scanned through the clutter, bills, sticky notes, half-written grocery lists, and came up empty. I checked the trash bin beneath the desk. Torn paper, wrappers, and at the bottom, a small strip of cardboard with a barcode. From a flower shop. Petal and Vine. Downtown. It wasn't much, but it was something. I took out my phone and searched the name. Boutique florist. High-end. Definitely not the kind of place someone sent a prank bouquet from. I called the number. A cheerful voice answered. Petal and Vine, this is Clara. Hi, Clara, I said, keeping my voice level. I'm calling about an order. Roses, sent yesterday? I think it may have been a mistake. I was hoping you could tell me who placed it. I'm sorry, she said. We can't release sender information. Even if there was a mistake? She paused. Do you have the order number? I don't, I admitted. But I do have the receipt barcode. That helps, she replied. Can you read it to me? I did. She typed for a few moments. Yes, found it. It was a dozen red roses, delivered yesterday too. For 28 Larchwood, right? Yes. Looks like it was a walk-in order. Paid in cash. No delivery. Was picked up in person. No name on file. A cold shiver crept up my spine. Picked up in person? Yes, by a man. Medium build, dark hair. Sorry, that's all I can recall. Thanks, I murmured, hanging up. Walk-in. Cash. Anonymous. It wasn't Jessica. That much I knew. That night, I didn't mention the call. Or the florist. Caroline seemed relaxed, even affectionate. We had wine. Watched something on Netflix. She laughed easily. But I didn't. I watched her more than the screen, noticing things I'd overlooked before. The way she checked her phone a little too often. How she smiled when she read something. How she tucked it away when I looked over. Before bed, she kissed me gently and said, "Love you." You too. I replied automatically, though the words caught in my throat. As she brushed her teeth, I returned to the hallway and examined the roses again. A few petals were beginning to curl at the edges, already fading, but the note still lay nestled among them, unbothered. That night, after she fell asleep, I unlocked her phone. I knew her password. Our wedding anniversary. What I didn't expect was to find so little. No messages out of the ordinary. No suspicious names. No deleted calls or apps. But then I opened her email drafts. And I found one. Just a single draft. Untitled. Unsent. I can't keep pretending everything is normal. I don't know how much longer I can do this without breaking. I miss you. I wish we could stop hiding. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. My hands trembled. She'd never sent it, but she'd written it. That was enough. Something inside me began to fracture. The next morning, Caroline mentioned casually over breakfast. Oh, by the way, I'll be home a bit late tonight. Client meeting ran over. Jessica and I are grabbing dinner. My grip tightened around my coffee mug. Jessica. Of course. I nodded, managing a smile. Sounds fun. I kissed her cheek goodbye as she left for work. Then I followed her. I followed her in silence, far enough behind that she wouldn't notice me, close enough not to lose her. Caroline's car slid smoothly through morning traffic, the silver paint catching glimpses of sunlight as we weaved through downtown. I stayed 3 cars back, switching lanes when she did, heart pounding with a quiet fury that matched each turn she made. It wasn't my first time tailing someone, though it was the first time it mattered this much. Once, years ago, I shadowed a cheating spouse for a friend who couldn't afford a private investigator. Back then, it was just curiosity, a favor. This time, it was my marriage. She parked in a lot behind her office building, a converted warehouse with oversized windows and a minimalist sign that read, Fletcher and Bloom, Creative Strategies. I knew the place well. I'd been there for their holiday party, eaten their catered shrimp, shaken hands with her coworkers. But I'd never been inside during work hours. Never seen what she looked like when she wasn't performing the role of wife introducing husband. And now, I wasn't here to support her. I was here to spy. I parked a block away and walked, blending with foot traffic. My reflection ghosted across glass as I passed shops and cafes, but I didn't look at it. I didn't want to see my own face. I ducked into a coffee shop across from her office, choosing a corner seat with a clear view of the front entrance. I sat there for over an hour, just watching. She came out once, around 10. Walked to the cafe next door with a tall man I didn't recognize. Olive-toned skin, tailored pants, a sharp blue shirt with the sleeves rolled up. They were laughing about something, her hand brushing his arm in a way that felt too familiar. Too natural. My stomach twisted. That little touch, it wasn't dramatic or overt. But it said everything. They didn't stay long. 10 minutes, max. When they came out, she was holding a cup and smiling, saying something that made him grin. Then they walked back toward the office. His hand hovered behind her back for just a second, then dropped. That was all I needed. I didn't know his name, but I knew his role in my story. Back home, I opened my laptop and began pulling threads. A search of Caroline's company website revealed the man's name. Elias Monroe, senior brand consultant. A quick scroll through their team page showed him mid-laugh in a black and white photo, his bio touting a decade of global campaign experience and an uncanny ability to connect emotionally with audiences. Apparently, he was very good at connecting. I dug deeper. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Elias was single. No mention of a partner. His last post, from 3 weeks ago, was a photo of a cityscape captioned, "Some views make you feel like staying." It meant nothing, or maybe it meant everything. My chest tightened as I skimmed through the rest of his feed. There were hints of Caroline, not in the photos, but in the patterns. A blurred wine glass across from his plate. A second pair of sunglasses on a beach towel. Nothing incriminating, but enough to drive me mad with implication. I closed the laptop and sat there, staring into space, letting the silence wrap around me like smoke. When she got home that evening, she seemed almost radiant. Her cheeks flushed, her voice softer. She brought me takeout, Thai, my favorite. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "Rough day?" "Not really," I lied. "Yours?" She smiled. "Good. Long, but good." I nodded and excused myself to the garage, where I kept the tools, and now, my new reality. I opened the small lockbox I'd hidden behind the paint cans. Inside was a tiny camera no larger than a bottle cap and a microphone the size of a coin. That night, after she fell asleep, I installed both in her car. If she was hiding a second life, I needed to hear it unfold. By Tuesday, I had more than I wanted. The audio was clear, crisp. The car mic picked up every word. The first notable recording came just after noon. Caroline got in, started the engine, then called someone. The voice was male. "Hey, you busy?" she asked. "Never for you," Elias answered. His voice was smoother than I remembered. Warm, relaxed. They talked briefly, something about a presentation they were both working on, but there was an undertone that made my skin crawl. The kind of comfort you only build when boundaries have already been crossed. "Dinner Thursday?" she asked near the end of the call. "Of course," he replied. "I'll make the reservation." My hands clenched into fists. Thursday, 2 days from now. Wednesday morning, I called in sick. I couldn't concentrate anyway. I took the day to install a GPS tracker on her car and another camera, this time in our bedroom, positioned carefully behind a lamp, angled just enough to see the bed. Just in case. The house was quiet again. Still, the air felt heavy, and every creak of the wood made me jump. Around noon, the florist called me back. I'd left a message with another branch of petal and vine, hoping someone might remember more. "I do remember the man," the woman said. "Dark hair. Looked intense, I guess. Very polite, but kind of distant." "Did he say who the flowers were for?" "No, but he did say he wanted something classic. Romantic. I remember that word. Romantic." "Did he give a name?" "No," she said, then paused. "But he wrote the note himself. We usually type them out, but he insisted on writing it. Just said he wanted it to feel personal." I thanked her and hung up. My heart was thudding. I sat down hard on the couch and stared at nothing for a long while. He wrote the note. Elias. It had to be him. That night, I pretended everything was fine. Caroline brought home a bottle of wine. She kissed me softly and asked if I wanted to watch something. I nodded. We sat together, her leaning into my shoulder. And for a brief moment, I wished I didn't know. Because the lie was still beautiful in its way. The shape of a life I had once believed in. The illusion of trust. The comforting routine of a marriage not yet shattered. But I did know. And now, I couldn't unknow it. Thursday came quickly. She dressed carefully that morning. A navy blue blouse I hadn't seen in months. Subtle makeup. New earrings. She sprayed her favorite perfume. Only a single spritz, just enough to leave a trail. "Back by 9, she said, grabbing her keys. "Okay," I replied. I watched her drive away, then grabbed my phone. The GPS tracker showed her heading into the city. I waited until she was 15 minutes ahead before following. I knew the restaurant the second I saw it. An upscale Italian place on the corner of Stone and 11th. Candlelight in the windows. Waiters in black vests. Romantic in the most predictable way. I parked 2 blocks down and approached on foot. From across the street, I saw them, Caroline and Elias, seated by the window. Her head tilted toward him, his hand resting near hers on the table. They looked like a couple. Not coworkers. Not friends. They looked like what we used to be. I pulled out my phone and took a photo. Then I took another. My hands were shaking, but I kept going. I needed to document it all. Proof. Back home, I sat in the dark with the photos open on my laptop. The camera in our bedroom had captured nothing yet. Just silence. Stillness. But the car mic gave me the rest. When she got in after dinner, she was humming. She made a call. Had a good time, she said. You always know how to pick the right wine. I know your taste, Elias replied. They talked for a minute. Then she whispered something that froze my blood. I hate lying to him. I do. But I don't want to stop this yet. There was a long pause. Then don't, Elias said. I shut the laptop slowly. My hands were still. My mind was not. She was coming home. She'd be here soon. And I had a choice. Confront her now, while the sting was fresh, or wait, gather more. Let her think she was safe. Let her keep lying. No, not yet. I needed one more thing. So I stood, walked upstairs to the bedroom, and opened her closet. If there was a second phone, it would be here. After 10 minutes of careful searching, I found it, tucked into a shoe box beneath old sweaters. The screen lit up when I pressed it. No password. Messages from Elias. Dozens. Photos. Plans. And one message, sent just hours ago. Can't stop thinking about last night. Last night. She told me she was working late. She hadn't come home until midnight. But now I knew. She wasn't working. She was with him. And that's when I saw it. The most recent photo. Elias, shirtless. Caroline, kissing his shoulder. Taken in our bedroom. On our bed. I sat down on the edge of the mattress, the weight of everything pressing down on me like a collapsing ceiling. She wasn't just lying. She was erasing me, replacing me. And now? Now I had everything I needed. Everything but one thing. Revenge. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, eyes fixed on the ceiling, the glow of the streetlight outside painting pale bars of light across our bedroom wall. Caroline was beside me, curled up in the exact same position she used to sleep in during our honeymoon, one arm tucked under her head, the other draped across the blanket. She looked peaceful, innocent, but I knew better now. I could still hear her voice in my head. I hate lying to him. The softness of it, the guilt, but not enough guilt to stop, not enough to pull away. The photo on her secret phone haunted me. Her on our bed with Elias, arms wrapped around him, sheets wrinkled and familiar. The same sheets we had picked out together. I remembered standing in the aisle of a department store 3 years ago, her joking about thread counts. And now? That bed wasn't mine anymore. Not really. It had become their sanctuary. That thought pressed on my chest like a weight. By morning, my grief had calcified into something sharper, colder. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want to cry. I wanted precision. I wanted to make her feel the way I felt. To be betrayed, blindsided, exposed. So I began drafting the plan. I kept my routine exact. Morning coffee, news on low volume, letting Caroline believe the world hadn't shifted. She kissed my cheek, mentioned needing to stop by the dry cleaner after work. Busy day, she asked. I nodded. Back-to-back meetings. I'll probably be home late. She smiled with a tenderness that would have broken me a week ago. I'll wait up. I told her I loved her before she left. Not because I meant it anymore, but because I wanted her to believe nothing had changed. She was going to fall straight into the trap. Step 1 was simple. Gather and organize everything. I created a private, encrypted folder on my computer. Into it, I dropped the audio recordings, the GPS tracker logs, and every photo from the bedroom camera. I labeled them methodically. Date, time, context. Then came the messages from her second phone. Screenshotted and labeled. Intimate. Laughing. Loving. Incriminating. Elias's face showed up more times than I cared to count. So did hers. Her expression softer with him than I'd seen in years. She sent him selfies from our kitchen, our porch, even from our backyard hammock. He had taken up residence in every inch of my life without setting foot through the front door. I created a presentation. Literally. Slide after slide, carefully formatted, like I was preparing for a boardroom pitch. Only this time, the pitch was the truth, and the boardroom was going to be our living room. I included a few of our wedding photos at the beginning to set the tone. A reminder of what we used to be, what she chose to ruin. The last slide was a simple statement in bold font. You ended this. Now I will too. Step 2, the audience. It wasn't enough that I knew. She had to feel the shame, the weight of exposure. That meant our closest friends, at least a dozen of them, who thought we were the golden couple. The ones who toasted us at our wedding, who came over for dinner parties, who watched our kids play together in the yard. I created a group email. I drafted a message. This isn't easy to write, But you deserve the truth. Before the rumors start, I want you to see it for yourselves. Caroline has been having an affair. This is what betrayal looks like. This is what lies sound like. I thought you should know who she really is. I attached the presentation. I didn't send it yet. Not until she saw it first. Not until I saw her face. Step 3. The setup. Thursday evening. Same as the night of her date with Elias. She had no idea I'd followed her. No idea I'd parked across from the restaurant, snapping photos like a ghost in the shadows. She came home that night smelling like perfume and wine, hair wind-tousled, cheeks flushed. Client meeting ran late, she said, kicking off her heels. We grabbed a bite to eat afterwards. I nodded. I figured. We went to bed, and she curled up beside me again. Like always. But something had changed in me. Her presence felt like an echo now. A replica of something real. Friday came. The day I'd chosen. I worked from home, told her I had a project due. She left in the morning, kissing my forehead like she always did. As soon as she pulled out of the driveway, I got to work. The house needed to be staged. I cleaned every surface, made everything look pristine. Intentional. Controlled. Then I set up the projector in the living room. One we barely used, mounted discreetly above the bookshelves. I tested it, making sure the slides played in order, the volume just high enough to hear the whispers, the laughter, the betrayal. I left her second phone, unlocked, on the coffee table. Right beside it, I placed the envelope. Inside, screenshots, transcripts, photos, printouts of the tracking logs. The presentation would start automatically when she walked in. I arranged it all like a gallery exhibit of our downfall. And then, I waited. The kids were with my sister for the weekend. Caroline thought I'd arranged it so we could have some alone time. She had no idea the house would be empty for another reason entirely. I waited for her in the kitchen, lights low, pacing. When I heard her car in the driveway, my hands trembled, not with nerves, but with anticipation. The door opened. Footsteps. Then silence. Then, the projector flicked on. I listened from around the corner. The sound of our wedding song playing, just the opening chords, followed by a voiceover I had recorded that morning. This is the story of a woman who forgot what love meant, who chose secrets over honesty. And this is the moment she realizes someone was always watching. Then, the photos, the audio, the messages. I heard her gasp, a soft cry. Her steps faltered. She called out my name, but I didn't answer. I waited another full minute before stepping into the room. She was standing there, pale, mouth slightly open, her coat still half on. Her eyes locked on the screen, which now displayed that final slide. You ended this. Now I will too. She turned slowly to face me. What is this? I didn't respond. I simply walked past her, picked up the envelope, and held it out. She took it with trembling fingers. This isn't what you think, she whispered. Then tell me, I said quietly. What am I looking at? She opened the envelope and flipped through the photos, the printouts. Where did you get all this? Does it matter? Tears filled her eyes. Please, let me explain. You had months to explain, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. But you chose silence. She looked down, ashamed, but I didn't feel pity. Not anymore. Who else knows? She asked suddenly, her voice small. No one, I said. Not yet. She looked up, hope flickering. But they will, I added. Tonight. Her face crumpled. I walked away before she could speak again. I went upstairs, leaving her standing in the ruins of her own deception. From the bedroom, I hit send on the group email. I watched it go. Every name on that list would know within minutes. And then I waited. Downstairs, I heard the first ping of her phone. Then another. And another. The avalanche had begun. She screamed once. An awful, keening sound that echoed through the house. Then silence. When I came back down 20 minutes later, she was sitting on the couch, holding the envelope, cheeks streaked with mascara. The projector was off. The room felt colder somehow. I'm sorry, she said again. I nodded. I believe you. She looked up, surprised. But sorry doesn't undo it. I continued. It doesn't unbreak what you broke. What now? She whispered. Now, I said. You pack a bag. I gave her 10 minutes. She left without arguing. As the front door closed behind her, I felt a strange mix of emotions, relief, grief, satisfaction. But I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. Because while Caroline was busy trying to salvage her image among our friends, I had one more message to deliver. And this one was for Elias. Revenge is a patient animal. Once Caroline was gone, I sat in the silence of our home, my home, where every picture on the wall, every scratch in the wood floors, held a memory. She had walked through these rooms for years, laughed here, cried here, lied here. I stared at our family photo above the fireplace, our daughter perched on my shoulders, our son leaning into Caroline, all of us smiling as if the world were simple. I reached up and took it down, placing it face down on the mantel. I wasn't finished. I still had one more audience left. I started with what I knew. Elias Monroe, senior brand consultant, bachelor, active on social media, partial to rooftop cocktails and captioning sunsets with vague philosophical musings. He posted sparingly, but when he did, he tagged locations, restaurants, events, art galleries. From these, I mapped a pattern. He liked routine. Thursday dinners at the same bar on Franklin. Saturday mornings at the gym on South Ash. So I waited for Saturday. And when it came, I was already there. I watched him through the tinted windows of my parked car. He stepped out of the gym around 9:17 a.m., sweat-dampened shirt clinging to his back, duffel bag slung over one shoulder. He was tall, fit, clean-shaven, with that air of easy charm some men seem to breathe in like oxygen. I followed him as he walked to his car, a sleek black sedan parked 3 rows over. I could have confronted him right there. But no, not yet. Instead, I waited until he left. Then I got out and knelt beside his car, slipping a small package beneath the driver's seat using the door I'd unlocked remotely. One of the many perks of having a friend who specialized in auto security systems. Inside the package, a phone. Activated. Preloaded with one contact. Me. He didn't find it until that evening. At 8:43 p.m., the phone buzzed on my desk. Unknown number. I answered. Hello. Elias, I said evenly. Glad you found it. A pause. Who is this? You don't know me. But I know you. Very well. Another pause. His voice changed, deeper, alert. Okay, is this a joke? Caroline never told you about me, did she? Silence. I'm her husband. The line went dead. Exactly as I expected. 30 seconds later, the phone rang again. This time, I let it ring out. Then I sent him a single text. Meet me. Monday night. 8 o'clock. Same bar on Franklin. Come alone. Or I share everything. I attached a photo, him and Caroline, kissing outside his apartment 2 weeks ago. Time-stamped. A minute later, 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then, finally, I'll be there. Monday came like a storm wrapped in calm. I arrived at the bar at 7:45. Chose a booth in the far back corner. The bartender, a woman with bleached hair and tired eyes, gave me a curt nod. Usual. Water, I said. And leave the bottle. I wanted a clear head. At exactly 8:02, Elias walked in. He spotted me immediately, probably from the photo on Caroline's phone. Or maybe just from instinct. He approached cautiously. I gestured to the seat across from me. He sat, every muscle in his frame tense. So, he said, clearing his throat. You've been watching us. I nodded. Longer than you think. He glanced around. You planning to make a scene? No, I said. Just a conversation. You owe me that. He exhaled slowly. Fair. For a long moment, we said nothing. Then I asked, did you know she was married? Yes, he admitted. She told you about me? Eventually. And that didn't stop you? He looked down. I told myself she was unhappy. That you were just a formality. That I was rescuing her. I stared at him. You believe that? He hesitated. I wanted to. I leaned forward. Let me tell you what you were rescuing her from. A life she chose. A marriage she committed to. A man who never raised his voice, never strayed, who gave her children and loyalty. You weren't a savior. You were an escape. He flinched. I'm not here to punch you. I continued. I'm not here to scream. I'm here to show you what comes next. He looked wary. What do you mean? I pulled out a small envelope and slid it across the table. Inside is everything, I said. Screenshots, audio, photos, all of it. You can choose what to do with it. He opened it slowly, scanning the top page. She said she ended things, he muttered. She told me it never really started. I replied coldly. We sat in silence again. Then he whispered, You're going to ruin her. I smiled faintly. No, she ruined herself. I'm just making sure no one forgets. He looked up at me. Why are you doing this? Because, I said, standing, I want you to know how it feels to be betrayed. I want the next time you think about charming someone's wife, you remember this night. I picked up my coat. And because she still talks to you. That caught him off guard. She? Don't lie. I've seen the messages. The secret email. The burner phone. He looked away. I paused, then leaned close. Tell her she has 3 days. Then I'm going public. And with that, I walked out. 3 days later, her lawyer called me. Mr. Halston, Caroline is requesting mediation. I laughed. Too late for mediation, I said. But I'll meet. Out of courtesy. We met that Friday at a quiet office in a brick building downtown. She looked pale. Smaller somehow. Her lawyer did most of the talking. She's willing to concede the house, joint custody, and a financial settlement. I nodded. Add full disclosure to our children when they're old enough. And her resignation from her current job. Caroline looked up, stunned. Why my job? You brought your affair into your professional life. You don't get to keep that version of yourself clean. She swallowed hard. You're doing this for revenge. I stared at her. No, I'm doing this for clarity. For accountability. Her lawyer leaned in. You can't demand resignation. I can't, I said. Or I go public. I have enough to destroy both your reputations. Caroline was trembling now. This is extortion, her lawyer said. This is leverage, I corrected. I stood. Decide by Monday. And I walked out. That night, I sat on the porch with a drink in hand, watching as the wind rustled the trees. I had expected some kind of relief, a sense of victory, but all I felt was stillness. Then my phone buzzed. A message from a number I didn't recognize. You were right. It was never love. Just a story I liked telling myself. Goodbye. E.M. I stared at the screen, then deleted the message. Caroline's resignation came through the following week. So did the finalized divorce papers. Clean. Efficient. Just the way I had planned. But there was still one more loose end. And it waited for me in a white envelope at the bottom of my desk drawer. The results of the paternity test. I hadn't opened it. Not yet. It sat there like a heartbeat, quiet but insistent. One truth left. One final betrayal, or salvation, waiting inside. I picked it up. My fingers trembled. I broke the seal. And what I saw made the room spin. I dropped into the chair, the paper fluttering to the floor. It was worse than I'd imagined. Not one child. Both. Neither were mine. The moment I saw the results, something inside me, some last thread of denial, snapped. I had expected bad news. Had braced for it. But both? Neither child was biologically mine. I sat frozen, the envelope in my lap, the letter trembling between my fingers. My vision blurred, but I didn't cry. Not then. My grief had passed into a quieter, colder realm. It wasn't just betrayal now. It was erasure. She hadn't just lied about love. She'd rewritten our history. Every bedtime story, every scraped knee, every proud moment. None of it belonged to me. Not by blood. And yet, I remembered their first cries in the hospital. Their tiny hands wrapping around my finger. Sonia's lopsided ponytails. James's first wobbly steps into my arms. They were mine in every way that mattered, except the one that now stared at me in black and white. The ink didn't lie. And Caroline had. That weekend passed in a fog. Caroline tried to contact me 3 times. 2 emails. 1 voicemail. I didn't open the messages. Didn't listen to her voice. I stared instead at the photographs around the house. Smiling children. Family vacations. Homemade art pinned to the fridge. I walked from room to room like a ghost, uncertain what belonged to me anymore. But the one thing I was certain of, she didn't get to keep them. Not after this. Monday morning, I called my lawyer. I want full custody, I said. He hesitated. But the paternity results. They're irrelevant, I snapped. Legally, I'm on the birth certificates. I've raised them. I've fed them, bathed them, taught them to ride bikes. I've done everything a father does. He was quiet for a moment. You're right. We can file, but it'll be ugly. I don't care, I said. She doesn't deserve them. She used them, hid behind them, lied to their faces. I'll draft the motion. Caroline responded predictably. Her lawyer called mine. Then she sent a long letter, handwritten, delivered by courier. I opened it, read the first few lines, then burned it in the fireplace. She wanted to make things right. Said she had panicked. That she never meant for it to go so far. What she never said. Who their real father was. She never named him. Never clarified if it was Elias or someone else. Part of me didn't even want to know anymore. The truth would always be contaminated. Weeks passed. The court process began. Mediation failed. Caroline grew combative the moment I brought up the paternity tests. She accused me of manipulation, of emotional abuse, of abandonment. But I had facts, evidence, and, perhaps most importantly, I had character witnesses. Friends, many of whom had received my now infamous email, testified on my behalf. They spoke of the kind of father I was, the kind of husband I had tried to be. Caroline, on the other hand, was alone. Her affair with Elias had quietly cost her more than just her job. Rumors spread quickly. Elias was gone, moved to another city, new job, new life. She remained behind, a shadow among the ruins. 6 months after I filed, I stood in the same courtroom where we'd once finalized our mortgage. Same building, different floor. This time, I wasn't signing a future, I was dissecting a past. The judge read through the documentation, asked questions, paused over the paternity tests. Then, finally, she delivered her ruling. Shared custody, but with primary residence awarded to me. Caroline could visit. Supervised at first. The kids wouldn't be told the truth. Not yet. That would come when they were old enough. And when it did, I would be the one to tell them. That night, as I tucked James and Sonia into bed, I looked down at their sleepy faces. Sonia clutched her stuffed elephant. James mumbled something about monsters. I sat there for a long time, just watching them breathe. They weren't mine by blood, but they were mine in the only way that mattered. Because love isn't forged in DNA. It's forged in moments. In consistency. In showing up. And I had shown up. Every day. Even now. I thought that would be the end of the story. But life had one more twist. It started with a knock at my office door. Michelle stepped in. My assistant. Always composed, always sharp. She carried a small package and a guarded expression. "This came for you," she said. "No return address. Just your name." I took it. Brown paper. Tied with twine. Inside, a small black box. And a note. "I should have told you. But I was afraid. I'm not proud of what I did. But I want you to know, they're yours. Not biologically. But I chose you. Because I knew you'd be a better father than he ever could be. I just wish I had been a better wife." See, I sat back in my chair. Beneath the note, folded neatly, was a photograph. Me, holding James as a baby. Caroline had taken it. I remembered that moment. I had forgotten how happy I looked. There was no proof in the box. No DNA. Just a choice. A declaration. She had chosen me to raise them. And I had done it. I didn't forgive her. Not fully. But in that moment, I let go of the last bit of hatred I'd been holding. It was heavy, and I was tired of carrying it. The kids grew. They never asked about the roses, or the nights Caroline didn't come home, or why we now had 2 houses. They adjusted, like children do. Sometimes, when they drew family pictures, Caroline was there. Sometimes, she wasn't. But I always was. Years later, when James turned 13, he asked me point blank, "Why did you and Mom split up?" I didn't lie, but I didn't poison him either. "She made mistakes," I said. "Big ones. And I couldn't stay married to her. But that doesn't change how much we both love you." He nodded, quiet. Then, "Are you my real dad?" The question hit like a wave. But I didn't flinch. "I'm the dad who taught you to swim. Who patched your knees. Who stayed." He looked at me, eyes wide and wet. "Then that's real enough," he said. "I don't wear a wedding ring anymore. But I still keep the petals. The roses, those same 12, dried and pressed, now encased in a frame. A reminder, not of her, but of the moment everything broke, and I began again. Revenge had been my anchor. But healing? Healing was the hard part. It was learning how to laugh again, how to trust again, how to love again. Not someone else. Not yet. But myself. Because sometimes, the flowers come from strangers. But the truth? The truth blooms when you least expect it. And it never needs a note.